Hi everybody, in this episode I'll be painting up this Kairic Acolyte from Warhammer Age of Sigmar. Starting off with my Acolyte here, you can see that everything has been based. This is actually a little bit of a rescue. I bought these used from my local gaming store, and they had a pretty nasty paint job on them, and so it's a little bit of a rehab, a refurbish. But let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to be starting off with Cadian Fleshtone, and that's going to go on all of his exposed skin, which there is quite a lot of on this miniature. So it's a really nice chance to get pretty proficient at painting those flesh tones. This is thinned down. It's about 50-50. A little bit larger of a brush as I just get in here. Being a little bit careful around some of the edges. And we will be doing 2 coats. So here you can see that. That is 2 dried layers, 2 dried coats of the Cadian flesh tone. And it's already got a pretty nice look to it. But of course we want to get in here and be taking care of some highlights and some shadows and all of that kind of stuff. He's got a lot of really great musculature that's going to pick up these shadows very nicely. And for all of these shadows, I'm using Agrax Earthshade and going in and just putting everything in there. Not having to be too awful careful. That's what's nice about these early layers. But I want to make sure that I'm putting enough on that it's seeping into the cracks of all of the muscles. Now to pick up the highlights, that's what we want to do next. I'm switching to a different brush. This is a brush that I've trimmed down and is a little bit nicer. And it's a little bit of a dry brushing that I'm doing here with Kislev Flesh. And I don't want to get that down in all of the crevices of the muscles. I don't want to get rid of all of the work that our shading has done. I'm just going over the tops of all of those muscles. And just those 3 layers gives us a nice look to our Acolyte already. So next I'm going in with my Apothecary white. This is one of my favorite of the contrasts, and it is a contrast, which means don't thin anything down. You're laying it in nice and thick. And we're going to be using this contrast on his skirt area here, as well as on his inside of his shield for a nice enamel. And we're using our chainmail on the weapons. But here we are with that Apothecary white. It's going on nice and thick onto all of this fabric. Now we've got our chainmail silver going onto this really cool looking sword. And you can see all of the work that is doing already. I've got it on the inside of a shield, on the armor bits, the pauldron. Now I've got my Carroburg crimson, and I'm going to use that on the armor and on the weapon, because I really like the way that makes these chaos weapons look. And of course I've got some gold to pick up some really nice areas of his armor. But here's that Carroburg crimson just going onto the armor. Now this I don't want to splash around all over the place, but it can go on with a nice bit of coverage. And I don't worry about getting it perfectly even, because I like the blotchy look. Now we're getting the gold onto his armor and his jewelry, that head crest. He's really starting to take shape already. Okay, so let's go ahead and make the rest of these things pop and find some areas to get some nice detail work. We've got this parchment and the leather and this little skull charm that he's got, as well as some gems on this sculpt. So we've got some really nice things here. I'll be using my pink horror and my Moot green for some feather works. The Thousand Suns blue is something that I really like to use for jewels and baubles. And then of course I've got my Skeleton Horde contrast for the parchment as well as the skull. You probably knew I was going to use it on the skull, but the parchment is where I like to use it as well. There you can see the Moot green and the horror pink for the feathers, Thousand Suns blue on the little tabard thing that he's wearing. Now we want to go ahead and pick up some highlights. So the Auric armor gold will be our highlights for the armor, and the chainmail silver, again dry brushed, will be the highlights for the weapons. We still have his shield, and this is a really nice opportunity to play around and get some fun looks with the shield. I'm using that Apothecary white again, which is going to give us a really nice sort of look, and the warp lightning will give us this nice colored metal. I really like it for chaos characters. So you can see on the main front of the shield and on the end side that Apothecary white gives me that nice enameled look. And then we've got our blues and our greens that pick up the rest of the edging and special areas. I want to say a huge thank you. I hope you really enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to hit subscribe and get our notifications, as well as go ahead and find us on our social media. You can find us on Twitter and on Instagram, and it would be really great if you were to share the video with a friend with a Sigmar army.
A big thanks to all of our patrons, and especially to Bryce. If you want to support our channel, you can head over to our Patreon page and check out the perks of being a patron.
So thanks so much, and until next time, I'm Ryan, and this is Roll for Initiative. Bye.